Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets, and I'm joined once again by one of my favorite guests, Jason Shurka, and we're going to talk about the latest installment with Ray. Jason, I've seen this. It's absolutely incredible. It just keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Now, I know he's gotten very comfortable with you. You guys were actually cracking. Well, you were cracking up. He's he's kind of like I was in the old days. I'm like very serious.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about it.
So this is obviously disclosure part 4. I'm super excited to put it out. It's very different than all the other ones, I would say. I think we can both agree on that one.
Absolutely.
Because all the other ones are very what we all know in terms of like the physical world, talking about everything that we've been speaking about over the past 2.5 years. But the truth is, the most important thing that we have to start focusing on to take us out of I'm going to call it spiritual enslavement, because it's spiritual enslavement that allows us to live lives of physical enslavement, which is what we're doing now. But we can get out of that if we tap back into our spiritual essence. So the intention behind Disclosure Part 4 was to dive a whole lot deeper into the spiritual aspect of life, spirituality, reincarnation, God, understanding the differentiation between spirituality and modern day organized religion. A lot of subjects that are very touchy, but very important to speak about. And to be honest, and we could speak about this also, there were some parts in the interview that I didn't include because I didn't want to include certain parts of that interview because it went very deep and very touchy on certain topics religiously. So we could speak about that as well. I really want to be transparent about that because my goal is to put out things in a way that will be as received as possible by the masses and kind of meet the masses where they're at so we can continue moving through this together. Because at the end of the day, even if you say something true, but that truth people may not be ready to hear on the collective level, you lose, you lose. So I think there's also a calculated way of doing things. And I had a dilemma with that because I don't like not speaking about the things that I want to speak about. And I don't like not saying everything, but I've learned that there's a time and place for certain things.
Yeah. And he's been really good about that. And, bringing that in a very intelligent and cogent manner. I think that people can, we've been moving people up, the ladder of consciousness with this information in a very, very easy way to take it. But yeah, he was definitely pressing home on some things that I have known to kind of gently bring them out. And he's basically, this is the way it is. I was like, wow, wow, that's incredible. So I know you have a couple clips that we can share if you want to do that. It's whenever you're ready, but it's I believe it's the best yet. I think we progress with this information, and you're talking about you're ready for the next one, the 5th one, but we want this one. We want to progress with this one, so go ahead.
That 5th one that you're talking about now, there's actually a personal experience that you have, because if you remember when we did that personal premiere in Miami of part 3, remember, I think it was that actual day, a lot of people were asking me, can we get somebody else from the organization interviewed? And I told you that day that same morning, I made a phone call and I was trying to make it happen to bring in this woman who I know from the organization, who works in the organization, a mother, very, very powerful woman, works undercover. I asked her, she said she's for it. One thing led to the other. So ever since that same day when I told you that phone call happened, when we were actually physically together, just the other day, I actually filmed Disclosure Part 5, which is going to be coming out soon. I just need to get the whole thing approved and edited to get out to the world. But yeah, that's a whole different story. But it's not ending here. That's the point. It's only starting, in my opinion.
And it's amazing. I've heard other people talk about the TLS and how effective they are, and when they get called in, it's like, ooh, they're going to get some stuff done. And he goes into a little bit of that, and he goes into some people that are connected with that organization that's mind-blowing, just absolutely mind-blowing. But it's kind of along the same lines that, we've kind of been leading up to this information.
Yep.
And stuff that you and I have probably known on the backside, but he reveals it in this information. So it's going to be very impressive.
I think what's awesome is that he just, like you said, he's just saying how it is. He's not telling you, like, it's not an intellectual it's not like a conversation intellect, it's not in the mind. He's like, listen, like, this is just what I experienced. So you could do what you want with it. I'm just letting you know that this is my experience. This is what happened to me. Take it or leave it. I can only share what happened. And again, if you know who he is, because I know who he is on that level, you know that these aren't even things that interest him intellectually. It's like so opposite that it's not even a guy that can start coming up with things because it's not his scene. It's not his field. But that's a personal experience because I know him on that level. You know what I mean? So I'll share my screen real quick and show something pretty cool.
All right, great.
There's a few clips. This is like the main one that shows some awesome things like reincarnation and so on and so forth. But there's also the Jerusalem aspect, which we could speak about.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Here it is.
In 2012, I was on a mission. It wasn't a mission here on planet Earth. And something happened that day. There was a huge explosion. And as soon as it happened, I started seeing things that in the beginning I thought, I'm going crazy. Reincarnation is very real. The name is very important when you choose a name for a baby, because the name of a human being, of an entity, can change the destiny of the newborn, even though the soul decided to go on a specific path. So it can affect your destiny. It's going to affect your path in life.
Is it possible for the same soul to be in multiple bodies at the same time?
Yes. Every Dalai Lama that was here was a new soul. The current Dalai Lama will complete his mission. He will then recycle, reincarnate, and he will reincarnate to the higher realm. The new Dalai Lama will do the same thing. Later on, I was on a higher level, and a higher level, and I experienced actual, I could say, discussions with certain entities. What is life there? I don't know if to call it life. It's a spiritual world. You can actually have a real full-blown discussion. In the beginning, they use your language. Eventually, it can go to what we call a spiritual language. Again, you don't see human beings. You see lights.
I'm excited.
August 8th coming up in just a few days. Little teaser there, everybody.
Yeah.
Now, I had a great time coming on the Unified, and I had like 4 sessions over there where I just broke it all down, how it evolved for me. And the last show was on reincarnation. So I'm very, very pleased, to hear him come out with deep information on that. So I could go off on a lot of different levels on that, my past lifetimes and how the spiritual realm, once you manifested that in a lifetime, you found that was more powerful than anything on the physical realm. So he's touched on a lot of those different areas. And I know in the Unified, you talk about that in a lot of your shows. And of course, as much as we can talk about, here in YouTube land, we've been sharing that, and it's really pulling people in the direction of, raising their consciousness and breaking free from this matrix.
One thing that I want to bring up when it comes to reincarnation in general, I know a lot of people coming from very religious backgrounds, they're like, oh no, that's bad, demonic, new age. And I really want to touch up on that for a moment, because my intention is not just to speak to people who agree with us. It's to reach people who may not agree with us, and then let's expand consciousness, let's expand perspective. So I try to speak to everybody possible in terms of like the widest possible spectrum.
Good.
And one thing I want to bring up for anybody who does bring up this idea of reincarnation as new age and demonic and all that, reincarnation is actually proven if you want to go according to the laws of science. And what I mean by that is there is a foundational law in science that even atheists believe in, and that is called the law of conservation. The law of conservation states that energy cannot be created or destroyed. We can prove that. We have proven that. That means that if I take this piece of paper and I burn it, then the piece of paper we see it as destruction, but what's really happening is transformation into heat and different molecular structures that go into the universe and become something else, meaning the law of conservation, energy cannot be created or destroyed. So by nature and by science, each and every one of us are observably made up of matter. Matter is made up of energy. Therefore, what you are made up of was never created and can never be destroyed. It can only transform. The word reincarnation is describing the transformation of form, the transformation of life from one form to another. And we see that in nature also. And this is something that's not new age whatsoever. If you go into a forest or a rainforest and you see trees fallen over that are dead, you're going to see fungus growing out of those trees. You're going to see new life coming out of those trees. And we all know that life cannot come out of death. Life can only come out of life. And if what we perceive as death can produce life, then it's not actually dead. It's just a different part of the cycle of life. And when we follow that, not just logic, because it is very logical and reasonable, and when we follow that in our feeling also, we see that reincarnation is not a belief. It's literally how the universe works, because energy is always transforming into a different form. And I just really wanted to bring that up at this point, because I know, and one of my concerns and even fears, I would say, before putting this interview out was, oh my God, a lot of people are going to come and say this is new age because it's all about spirituality. So I made it part of my mission to reshape the perspective of what new age is, which would be something that's counterproductive, that's not based on the laws of creation, and then understanding what isn't new age and actually the oldest thing in the book, because it's where we come from.
Yeah, that's incredible. I'm glad you brought it up. And it's a very, for me, it's very simple. You know, I've been following this since a little boy, believing in it and doing the research, doing the science behind it. Now, there was a really good example that was brought up in the show where you guys talked about a past lifetime, 1,000 years back, Chinese, ancient Chinese, and this person speaking ancient Chinese. There's no way they could have known that. Just on and on and on. But people are doing that in their past life discoveries and so forth. I've done that in many of mine. So there's some of the stuff, there's no way that I could have done the research, known it, never heard it in school. It's not taught in school, some of the stuff that I learned going into these past lifetimes. So it's pyramid codes. You've talked about a lot of this, and I think if no one's listened to the pyramid codes or read the pyramid codes, I highly recommend that. And that gives you a little bit of insight. My own Awakening of a Warrior, I talk about past lifetimes. So there's lots of information out there. Shirley MacLaine's talked about it, Out on a Limb. Very, very popular shows are out there on reincarnation, but people just think it's, it's just something just fluffy. It's not real. Yeah. No, it's just very real. And you guys I thought you guys did an exceptional job of making it, palatable and science-based, really. He's like, look, it's grounded. It's grounded in truth. If I were to ask you, what'd you eat for breakfast this morning? You'll take a second to think, and then you're going to remember. Yeah. If I were to ask you, what'd you eat for breakfast a week ago? You're probably going to have to take a few minutes and go back, but that memory exists somewhere and you have the power to access it. Now, if I were to ask you, what'd you do on April 5th when you were 5 years old? You know that there was a day, April 5th, when you were 5 years old, whatever year that was. The question is, do you remember? You know that memory exists somewhere. And just like you remembered what you had for breakfast this morning, you do have the ability to go back to when you were 5, to go back to when you were 1, to go back to when you were in your mother's stomach, and to go back before then. And that's the idea, to stop making a differentiation between different forms and understanding that life is life and it's an ongoing process. Those memories are eternal. Question is, do we have the awareness to tap in? And that's why I think expanding our awareness through interviews like this and the work that you do and the work that so many of us are doing around the world right now is so important, because as we become aware, we remember. We're not learning anything here. We start remembering what we've always known. And I think that's what's going to propel us into this new earth that we're creating. Yeah. And then once those energies that we're starting to tap in, once we start to tap into those, we open doorways, not only in ourselves, but for others, because we step through and it creates an opening for others. And I think that's the most powerful thing that Ray has brought us in these interviews, the ability to see that there's much more. And he, like I said, he brings it in such a manner and a level that people can comprehend it and believe in it. And it's such a great service you guys are doing. Thanks so much.
I appreciate that. There's a part, I know we spoke about the whole Jerusalem part last time, and there was a follow-up, as you know, to,
yeah.
I asked him because it actually ties to reincarnation. I said something along the lines of, last interview, you mentioned certain things that are buried underneath the Dome of the Rock. How do you know that? And his answer was very interesting. He said, because I was the one who put it there. But
Wow.
the key to understanding this is, well, wait a second. That was placed there like 3,000 years ago. So now, again, we're going into the world of reincarnation memories. That has a lot to do with TLS, by the way. That's how they would choose certain individuals. This is like a perfect example of why somebody like him was chosen. It's not necessarily because the guy is a guru in his life. He's not. Believe me, he is not. He's just, he holds a very, very special and unique energy having to do with past reincarnations as well, which is why certain individuals are chosen for certain tasks. So when I asked him, how do you know that, and he's like, I put it there. And I actually want to share that if I can over here to show the trailer, because
that is a great one.
Yeah, it's the first time that something is being revealed in regards to more information about TLS, specifically a school underneath the Western Wall in Jerusalem. That's there right now. There are about 200 students, and it's, you can call it, like, the best way of explaining it is like a mystery school. It just so happens to be that they use mysticism. That's what mystery is, by the way. They use mysticism from things like the Kabbalah and the Zohar and things like that to be able to do what they do, like supernaturally, if you want to call it, even though it's not supernatural, but that's what people call it. But that is a school that exists right now over there. So I'll share my screen again and just show this.
Nice.
And by the way, for anybody who's watching, I want everybody to know that this interview is free for the entire world. So you can watch it on that link, unified.tv/disclosure. And every part of this series is open to the entire world always.
Beautiful.
You were speaking about uncovering certain things from under the Dome of the Rock, and you mentioned 150 feet below. How is it that you knew that?
I was the person who put it there. We knew there was trouble coming in. So we took all this equipment and we took it below the Dome of the Rock. Today it's a mosque. At that time, it was the Holy Temple, and it was put in for future generations. So it's still there. Nobody got to it yet, so I know exactly where it is. There's an entrance that you could go through right by the Western Wall.
Who's in possession of that path right now?
In real life, nobody. But there is a yeshiva. A yeshiva is a Jewish school right by the Western Wall. You're talking about roughly 200 students. This is the yeshiva that's controlled by the rabbi, Aleph. It's being controlled by him, by his students. But all of them have supernatural abilities.
What is the name?
So it was exciting. I've known about that school for like 3 years.
Wow.
But it wasn't something that was able to be shared. So it's just a part of my nature. I like squeezing as much as I can. And it's like a persistence thing. I'm a very persistent person. Sometimes it gets me in trouble, but I do my best because I want as much shared as possible. There are a lot of cases in these interviews where there are things that are shared that I've never heard before. And I'm like, whoa, and I'm surprised in the interview because usually before we sit down, there's an idea of like, this is where I want to go. These are the topics I want to touch up. And then every so often the guy just like surprises me with something I've never heard before. So I do my best to get as much information I can out there, not for entertainment purposes, because I really do feel, and I know in my heart that the more aware we are, the quicker we're going to experience spiritual liberation. We have to know who we are. You can't reach your highest potential if you don't know the foundation that you actually sit on. If you live your life day to day thinking that you're this like limited physical being that's just going to die one day and that's it, how much are you actually able to do in terms of your true power and what you have the ability to tap into?
Yeah. And another thing that I like about, both of you guys doing these interviews, I really learned from both of you. And you made a statement that probably on some level I knew, but never really made the connection on an analytical level, is that thoughts are faster than the speed of light.
Yes.
Like, of course, that's how I can go back and see some of these things. And he talks about that. He talks about how if you could go back, faster than the speed of light and go back to a certain point, you could see these things. And when you said that, I was like, so brilliant. That's a great way to turn.
Definitely one of my favorite parts of the whole thing. I actually have a clip that I could bring up in a second if I can find it, all about time, because
nice.
the explaining the illusion of time from the perspective of how light moves changes the game. It literally changes everything in terms of how we see it.
And I thought it was interesting too, because he was talking about light and sound, how they both travel at different rates. So you're not going to quite get the sound. You get the visual, which that's the way it's been for me. I get the visual and I get the impression, but I don't get the sound all the time. So that's fair. That's another thing,
How about this?
Yeah.
That's the way it is for everybody, because what happens when you look at lightning and then you hear the thunder afterwards?
Good point.
Because the light travels faster than the sound.
Absolutely.
You always see the experience of the light because it reaches you quicker before you hear the experience of the sound. They're literally in two different places, which it's a very simple truth. It's not, we know that. We know the speed of light is much faster than the speed of sound. But when he said it, I was like,
I know, right? It's like those aha moments. It's like, yeah, of course. Yeah. So you make the connections in beautiful conversations like this. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely deeply insightful, because when I listen to it, it's like I have to like stop a little bit sometimes, and I'm like, I got to be with that, And so that's another thing. I'm glad you're like, you've made these shows available to everyone, because it really it's helping expand everyone, and we want everyone to be expanded, especially in these time frames, because I believe they're really coming after us to keep our consciousness down, but we keep pushing it. We keep pushing it very perfectly. It's a perfect push.
100%. That's really how, if you were a crazy person and you wanted to control a lot of people, and you know that you can't control a lot of people physically because you don't have the resources to do that physically, then what's the next best thing you can do? You have to create some sort of system that causes them to enslave themselves. And if you can do that, which happens mentally and spiritually, then that's the genius, but also the nature of being like a psychopath in a way.
Yeah.
That's the way that it's done. The few to control the many can only happen when it's done mental and spiritually.
Yeah.
So if you look around us, just from my observation, the problem is not them necessarily trying to impose certain things upon us. That's a part of it. But the bigger problem is that a lot of the people actually believe it.
Yeah.
So now we start fighting against each other, and then that brings us to divide and conquer. So because one person says this, another person says this, that's what's needed in order to keep people controlled. Because when you keep them divided, as you know, with your background and everything that you've seen, you keep them divided, you have absolute control over them. Yeah. So it's this like spiritual war that's like, it's genius in the worst way possible.
Yeah.
It's genius in the worst way possible.
He talks about that as well. And I discovered this as a warrior, the difference between fear and love. And he goes into a very, very beautiful way of describing that, and how that is, the two different things. And I would teach classes on that. I would say there's fear and there's love, and you want to be in the love when you're in a combat, type of environment, because otherwise you're less effective and you can be taken out very easily. And I've 100%. Seen that. Yeah. So he talked about that, did a really good job. I thought it was
I would
nice.
say fear and love, and differentiate. I think what he said was there's only two emotions when you're here as a human being. There's fear and love, and everything else is a byproduct of those two.
Yeah.
I would say if you really want to go deeper, there's really only love, but I think that's a whole other conversation. Because we experience fear and love in the world of duality. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it all comes out from one source. So I think there's an even deeper truth there, but I guess that's a whole other conversation. What I really found to me, and I think probably the most helpful thing that, thank God, I'm not dealing with, so I don't have to apply in my day-to-day life, but I know a lot of people are, is when it comes to mental illness, when it comes to things like schizophrenia and all these bipolar, multiple personality disorder, all these different things that people are experiencing. He brought that up, if you remember, when it comes to souls and how certain things work and all that.
Oh yeah.
And my favorite aspect was the fact that, and I think it's something we all have to start doing, search for the spiritual root in every physical ailment or illness that we experience, imbalance, dis-ease that we experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we don't, then we just say, take this drug and take this pill. But that's just on the physical level. And you end up doing so many things that are disconnected and hurt the person, as opposed to understanding, well, what's actually going on with the person spiritually that experiences multiple personality disorder or schizophrenia and all that. And that was brought up throughout the interview, which is why I'm bringing it up, because I see my life over the past few months, the theme is really going into helping this world heal on all levels. Why? Don't ask me. It's just how things are turning out and what's showing up in my life and the creations that are coming out of me day to day. And it's all focused on healing. So that part of the interview really caught my eye, because when we can understand healing from a holistic perspective, and when I say holistic, I'm not just talking about holistic of the body, I mean holistic of the universe, of all dimensions, then the way we go about healing changes. We won't any longer just say, take this and everything's going to be okay, because we have all this knowledge, we don't have awareness. And if you're leading with knowledge without the proper awareness to understand how the dots connect and how the puzzle comes together, it's almost like trying to build a puzzle where you know every piece, but you don't know what you're trying to build. So how can you expect a person to put the puzzle together the right way, you know?
Yeah. And, I thought he did a really good job with describing all the different religions and basically the creator, because he talks about love and the ultimate being and how that, comes through. So he did a really good job of that and explained it in a way that I've never had seen it put before. So like we're talking about all these different levels, because man, and he's not deep into the organization either. I'm like, my God, he's a contractor. I've been a contractor, for the CIA, and I saw things from the outside looking in, and I quite literally, I would see things and I would say to myself, I'm going to forget that. I'm going to forget that. I'm going to forget that. And there are literally things that I erased from my memory. So it's interesting, how we operate, how the brain operates. And, through this conversation you guys have been having, I'm starting to see a bigger picture, how the brain operates, how we work with the soul, because he went deep into the soul aspect this time and the spirituality and everything. So it is a monumental show.
The best part is it's literally somehow the tip of the iceberg. I think it's always the tip of the iceberg. It's always the tip of the iceberg, because there's like an infinite amount of awareness that we can actually tap into. And my favorite part is that it's like I'm on this journey with everybody that's receiving it too. That's how I really feel, because it's like this ride that we're all going through, and we're all seeing it from a different perspective. And it's cool, because before I started doing anything publicly and speaking publicly about these things, it was kind of very lonely. It was very lonely, because I didn't feel like I had anybody with me on that journey. And now I'm a person that I love sharing. My human design is a projector. I love sharing whatever comes to me for the greater good, to be able to like produce productive results for everybody. For me, if I'm experiencing something great, I need everybody to experience that too. It's like in my nature. It's just what I like doing. So when I was able to start sharing that, it's almost like this collective journey from my perspective. This collective journey started, and it's fun, and like every time an interview comes out, you and I talk, and we do this, and it's like, it's fun. It's like a fun thing that is just unraveling, and nobody actually knows what the future holds. And we're all just doing our best to get to the greatest outcome possible and share in the best possible way that we could possibly share. And the best part is, which is also annoying, but it's great, is that it's not easy. It's not easy because on the way, I know you know this because you go through it too. On the way, when you do things that are out there, you get a lot of great feedback. And then you get the people that come up with stories of like, well, I don't even know how you got, I have no clue how you got to that. But it happens, and it's a part of it. You know what I mean? So it's just this whole thing that unravels, and that's unraveling, that we're all somehow a part of. And everybody has a piece in this train of life that we're all also leading in our own ways. It's just beautiful to be able to see the unraveling process of like how life unfolds, and still having no clue what's going to happen 1 minute from now. Zero clue what's going to happen in 1 minute from now.
It is quite phenomenal. And what I love about the conversation as well is something I noticed in you as well. I was like, Jason's going to be someone going forward that's really going to help awaken humanity. I saw that early on, and he's been helping you to discover that and realize that you have incarnated to be, and not to blow your horn. You're a very humble guy. So I love that about you and what you're revealing, but you have a certain mission. He's like, you can accept it or it's up to you. You can go forward with this and do amazing things or not. That's the way it is for everyone. Mm-hmm. As you awaken to this information and you expand yourself, like you're talking about, you're going to have people that fall off and people get involved. But really, as we've been noticing, the more you awaken, the more you share, the more people that are attracted to this, and it's like the team is really coming together. I've always loved teams ever since I was in high school playing football and stuff. I always had great teams with me, and SEAL teams, and in the CIA and all the crazy stuff I've done. So I always wanted to have a good team, and I feel like I'm part of another, like the most phenomenal team ever right now.
I think the best part with this one for me when it comes to teams also is it's no longer like an individualized separate team from anybody else.
Right.
It's everybody together, whether anybody even realizes that or not. Even those who aren't even in agreement with what's going on here, they have a part in the awakening process as well. It's not just the people that like move forward and say, wake up, open your eyes. It's also the people that are on the exact opposite side of the spectrum who inadvertently are helping people wake up as well. And in that way, that's their role on team humanity and team ascension and team evolution, and reaching that destiny. So we all have a piece, and it's exciting. I have no other words. It's just exciting. It's how I've built everything that I've done. I like building anything that I'm behind in alignment and sort of like embodying the vision that I see for the greater picture. So even take Unified, for example. Unified, I did my absolute best to not model it after anything in like the 3D business world of, okay, we're going to raise money, and then we're going to have this, and then somebody's going to have this share. And that, no, I think that's weird. I don't like that world. I'm not about that world. So I said, listen, why don't we just create an initiative in a way that hasn't been done before in the business world? Because money is not a bad thing. Money is energy used for energetic exchanges. The question is, how are you maneuvering the energy that we call money? And are you maneuvering that energy in a way that's helping people or hurting people, in a way that's selfish or selfless? So I did my best, and I'm doing my best every day. And I'm learning every day also to create this initiative and this platform, the Unified platform, in a way that shows the world this is what you can do also. Not to say this is going to be a corporation that we create. No. As a matter of fact, it's not even a corporation, but that's a whole other story. So it's just about kind of leading by example for me. I hope to inspire others in everything that I do. I'm inspired by a lot of others. yourself and many, many others included in the way that they do things. And just losing that like old paradigm perspective of it's me and I'm going to take over, as opposed to let's just create leaders instead of followers. And let's create something that can help everybody, because if we help everybody, then everybody will start creating something that helps everybody else. And that's like the whole idea of paying it forward. So I'm excited to be a part of that team. I love the team that we're on, and there's nobody that isn't on this team. That's the truth. Even the psychopaths. The psychopaths are a part of this team too, because they're a very big reason why humanity is waking up.
Yeah.
So we're all on the same team. We don't necessarily see it holistically yet.
Right. And that's why I say always send love to everything, because they're part of that in a certain way. And when you send love to all that negativity, it seems to ease it out. They either like fade away, or they come along for the ride with the rest of us. So that's kind of the way things are moving. The very physical side, sometimes it has to be done, but it's becoming less and less as we move forward, because we're evolving and using our consciousness to create and manifest in ways that hasn't been seen in a very, very long time, and especially here on Earth. So it's very
I don't only agree with you, we have so much proof of the reflection of the way that we're shifting in the world. And you know what? I want to show you an example of proof right now. Okay.
Nice.
I'm going to show you something that most people told me was impossible. I even almost thought like, no, is this really? So May 27th, I put out an interview with Dr. Sandra Rose Michael. All about energy enhancement system technology and all that.
Yeah.
My vision was obviously, number one, that interview came out in perfect timing because it was seen by so many people around the world.
Oh, yeah.
People were starting to take action. They really received the information within that interview in an incredible way. But here's the reflection of how I know that we're making a shift. That interview came out just about 60 days ago, about 2 months ago.
Right.
2 days after that interview came out, I had a download in my brain. I said, we got to create something to help all these centers and all these people who want to start bringing this technology to the world. I spoke to you about that already. That was called unifiedhealing.com, which is pretty much an initiative, a global initiative to heal the world and bring centers to as many places as possible. And my vision was, let's do 100 centers around the world by 2025. Now, here's the proof that I know that we're changing very, very quickly. It's been 2 months and we already have 40% of that done.
Wow.
Okay. This is Alaska, the United States, Canada, Sweden, Israel. We're about to bring on Switzerland, a few places in Africa, Europe. This doesn't happen because we're not ready. This, what you're seeing right here, is a reflection of how ready people are. People are changing their lives to bring this technology to the public realm, to bring it in the most affordable and accessible way to people all around the world. And the fact that this much was done in a period of 60 days, I don't even know where we're going to be by 2025. But this is proof that we're shifting, because that does not happen to a primitive society that's not evolved. That happens to people that are in transition of the old paradigm of healing into the new paradigm of healing, and understanding we have the power to heal ourselves, because that's what this technology stands for. That's what this network stands for. Every dot that you see on this map has agreed to not charge more than $60 per hour when going into those sessions, because the idea is to make it as affordable and accessible as possible, which means people are stepping up to the plate in the opposite of a greedy way. They're saying, we're going to do this and we're going to make it affordable. And that's why this grew, because of people, not because of me. I was just the guy that facilitated this to make this happen. But everything that you're seeing now with all the open centers and the coming soon centers, it's a reflection of how I don't believe, I know that we are in the greatest shift humanity has ever seen, because that wouldn't happen any other way.
Yeah. I mean, you're teamed up with someone that's pretty exceptional. And I knew that when you guys linked up, I'm like, this is going to blow up. So yeah, 100 is like the only thing that's keeping it from going to 100 right now. What is that? Because
they can't produce enough units.
Yeah,
we did such an incredible, or you know what, I'm going to rephrase that. This is the work of TLS. Let's be very straightforward here. I was sent to Las Vegas by the organization. I was put on a plane. They got me a hotel. They did the whole thing. They said, you're going to Las Vegas to interview Dr. Sandra Rose Michael. They approached her in 2011 because of her technology. And they told her the day, and she'll say this publicly, it's in the interview, the day will come that your technology is going to be out there for the entire world. And I guess 11 and a half years later, which was just recently, they used me to bring that forward. And I'm just a soldier. So this is the work of TLS. And what you're seeing here in terms of the amount of demand from over 100 countries around the world right now, they're so backed up. I mean, hundreds of units we're talking about, thousands of units we're talking about, 6 months out to get the next unit. They're already in orders to the beginning of 2023, and they're doing their best to keep up. They're expanding their team. New jobs are being formed for something that actually helps people. So this is, I mean, those are the powers that we're talking about that are behind this. I'm just a soldier for it.
Yeah. And I look forward to the day, and I know it's coming because Dr. Michaels has talked about it, that we're going to see this in large areas where people gather, and it's going to be there. And I was like, when she told me about that, I was like, that is definitely going to happen. Because I was in that, probably a couple of years ago, and in one of her, I had my own little session in there in one of those for a couple of hours, and I was like, wow, this is definitely going to be next level. And she's like, yeah, I'm kind of in the back burner right now. That there's things that I can't bring out, but at some point we will. And it came out a lot faster. So something is happening. That's shifting us into higher gear. And
I'll tell you one of the things that I'm working on right now. Part of the main initiative here, the task that I was given by TLS as an organization was twofold. Number one, bring as much awareness to the technology as you can. Number two, find a way to make it as accessible and as affordable as possible to everybody. That was my mission. I'm like, how the hell am I going to do that? And then unified healing came up and all that. But the idea of unified healing is, think about it as like a humanitarian focused network to bring awareness to all the centers that are onboarded to this network. And with the funds generated by that network, the idea and the vision is to use that to continue expanding. So I actually had a meeting earlier today, actually here in New York City. Awesome man, awesome guy. And he wants to bring this to India. And I said, listen, and by the way, everything that I'm saying is not there. This isn't secured yet. This is just an idea in motion, because I want to show people like part of the vision of what I want to do here. The idea here is to bring this technology to not just centers that can operate that you can go to, but also to places that can't afford it in the first place, like India, let's say, for free. Put it in an ashram, let people go and experience that publicly. Let's do that. So part of the conversation was, and I told him, I said, listen, let's make it happen. And we'll help fund that whole thing. And we'll just bring it there. Not a business that anybody charges for. You don't have to pay hourly. We're just going to donate that 24 unit system. We'll put it in an ashram somewhere in India, in a big place where you could fit 1,000 people, and let's do it. So that idea, India, Africa, those are the ideas that I want to bring forth into fruition, from ideas into reality. So my idea is to use everything that we're making from this unified healing network and use that to fund a greater initiative. Because what we did, by the way, so everybody knows, is the Unified Healing Network does charge center owners for like marketing costs, because that's what we're doing for them. But the idea is to use those funds to not just, of course, bring more awareness to the technology, but also place the technology in places that are inaccessible around the world. So again, goes back to what I said earlier with Unified. I want to create something that will feed itself, that is in alignment and really like embodies this new world that we're creating, this new earth that we're creating. And it's all about finding the best way possible to maneuver that energy in this game of life and heal the world. So that's where this whole thing came from. And it's growing fast.
Yes, it's bound to. I mean, it's just what everybody's been wanting for a very long time. So we're starting to get these technologies out. So I remember like 20, 30 years ago, like people seeing into the future and
Mhm.
seeing the stuff you're talking about right now. It's like it's coming to fruition now. So it's incredible. Because like I said, when I saw it, I was like, wow, this is going to really be something when and if it ever finally gets out. Because we've known a lot of stuff that's been suppressed and stopped out. So I'm glad she was able to stay healthy and keep this moving. So probably some protection going on. Hopefully, I feel confident that she's going to continue this work and that you are going to continue this work. Yeah, it's a done deal. So
you can
it's
only
amazing.
you can only do your best. You know, you do your
Yeah.
best from beginning to end. You be as transparent as you can possibly be the whole way through with everything that you do. And you know, so long as you do that, what else can you really do? You can only do your best. I know that I wake up every morning and I go to sleep every single night and I say, today I did my best. Doesn't mean every day is a good day. I have a lot of hard days. I know we all do. I have a lot of very hard days because it's taxing. You know, this isn't like easy work. It's work where there's a million people looking at you and asking you questions, and they need support, and everybody has a sick relative, and this person's about to die. And, you know, it's very difficult with all the messages and all the requests that come in. And then you just got to find a way to do your best to help everybody in the most effective way, because you can't do one-on-one. That's what I like about this technology. It doesn't take one-on-one. It's 1,000 people in a stadium. You can do that. 20,000 people in a stadium. You can do it. One person in a room, you can do it too. So I'm always looking for the next thing that we can do to reach as many people as possible and help as many people as possible at the same time. I'm all about scalability. My mission personally is not to impact a town or a country. It's to change the world. I'm not leaving here without changing the entire world one way or another. So I have very big aspirations and a very, very big vision. And unless you shoot me in the head, you're not going to stop me. It's just not going to happen.
And I remember going into the room where she had it set up, and there was like, there'd be 5 of us would go in at a time, and we'd be like, bong. And you go out and you're like, how long have I been here? And it would be like, you know, hour and a half, 2 hours. And it was like, I thought I just got in here.
Yeah.
So it's definitely transformative. But I know Scott McKay, he's had some serious issues in the past. He spent some time there, and she did some serious, the technology did some serious healing on him. So
listen, I'll give you personal quick stories. My aunt, she had a 12.5 centimeter cystic fibroid. And by the way, I want to just preface, this is not a medical claim. I'm not making medical claims. I'm sharing observations and experiences. That's all I'm doing here. Okay, that's very, very important before I say what I'm about to say. She had a 12.5 centimeter cystic fibroid in her uterus. Doctors wanted her to go into surgery. By the way, everything that I'm telling you, I already interviewed her. In a few weeks, this interview is going to be shared with the world as well. But my own aunt, a few hours sitting in the system, dissolved. It's gone. I'm like, this is too good to be true. What's going on here? My sister's dog, little 7-8 pound poodle, his name is Shoko. Suddenly, this like lymphatic cyst pops up on his neck, 4 centimeters, 2 inches. We put him in the unit. 30 hours later, he slept there for 3 nights. Dog. We're not talking about a human that you can say he thought about and there was a placebo effect. You're talking about a freaking dog. Okay. We put the dog in the unit. 30 hours later, 3 nights later, it was gone. So I'm like, okay. So now that happened. I'm hearing testimonials and experiences from a lot of other people around the world. TLS is telling me you're going to Las Vegas to go and interview this woman because what she's saying is legit. Then she's telling me, oh, by the way, TLS approached me in 2011 and my mind is just blowing. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on here, but let's make this happen, you know, and that's how all of this started. So I'm hearing testimonials and experiences all the time. And I get emails all the time about, things that you wouldn't believe. It's unbelievable stuff that's coming to fruition. So I'm choosing to stand behind this for many reasons. You know, it's a combination of what I've seen, what I've experienced, TLS being behind it as well in terms of the encouragement and the push, the fact that I love Sandra and her family. They're incredible, incredible human beings, really amazing human beings.
Beautiful.
And that's what we're here to do. And it was a scary step for me to make. It was a scary step for me to make because I'm already doing all
I
this.
remember you when you went there in the video. I'm like, he's a little hesitant here.
Yeah, because I'm like, am I really going to do this? Am I really going to take this step right now?
I'm
And I can
glad
tell
you
you,
did.
look, it's only been 2 months. It's the best step I've ever taken.
Absolutely,
That's the
absolutely.
best step I've ever taken. And to see how all the pieces connect,
Look how fast it's gone. See, this is how fast we're moving. This is how fast things are coming. You can awaken and boom, 2 months later, it's like it's way out there. It's like incredible how fast things are coming now. I love it.
This is your proof right here. You want proof? This is it. I've never thought that something would move that fast.
Tip of the iceberg. It's going to be everywhere.
It's going to be all around the world very, very quickly. It's crazy how the only thing that's stopping that from growing is the time to produce it, not the people. There's thousands waiting. Let's go. Let's open. We're ready. We want to join this initiative. We want to bring this to everybody we possibly can, make it as accessible and affordable as possible. Unbelievable how quick it's growing. So I'm grateful to be a part of it. I'm grateful just to see how all the dots connect, all the time. And I know you know this, when you do something new, there's a lot of resistance that comes your way from people who know you, from people who don't know you. Right. And the greatest thing, and this is just my message to everybody listening right now, the greatest thing you can possibly do, follow your gut.
Yes.
Follow your intuition. You're always going to have people that doubt you. You're always going to have people that don't believe in you. So long as you believe in yourself and you go with your gut and you go with your heart, I promise you, it will work out. And it's the greatest simple word of advice I can ever give just from my own personal experience. Go with your gut, because magic happens when you follow that. It's not about the mind anymore. You're leading with your spirit. You're leading with your soul. And that's how we change the world. And in the beginning, when all of this started, and you were a part of the beginning as well, already a year and change ago, when I was sharing about TLS and putting all this information out, it wasn't always received of, oh yeah, okay, yeah, it's all true. There was a lot of, oh no, there's something, what's this guy up to? What's going on? And I just had to keep going and keep going and keep going. And I still keep going and you got to keep your eye on the target. Because you will always have distractions that come along the way. You keep your eye on the target. And today, look what happened. Ever since I came out with that pyramid code that I was given the opportunity to do,
so long.
Ray has shown up for 4 interviews. Another woman from TLS is about to come on for an interview. A woman who is now publicly known, Dr. Sandra Rose Michael, is telling you, hey, they approached me in 2011. Look how quick things are growing. That doesn't happen because something isn't on target. That happens because you're over the target. So I'm grateful to be here. I'm excited for Disclosure Part 4 that's coming out on Monday, 8:18 p.m. By the way, that stands for infinite life. Those are the numbers: 8, infinity; 18, life; infinite creation. That's the idea. So it's all coming out. It's a series that's for absolutely everybody. If somebody hasn't watched this series or you want to rewatch it or whatever it is, it's open to everybody. So that's all at, I could send you the link, Michael, as well. It's unified.tv/disclosure. It's where you can watch part 1, part 2, part 3. I'll literally show you. It's very, very simple, actually.
Okay. And we'll put it in the description box too.
Right over here. This is the page. I made it as simple as possible. You got a countdown. This is where you'll be able to watch it. Of course, when it comes to support, because I always say follow the money, you got to know how this is funded. This is not funded by me, by myself. This is funded because of Unified TV members. I want you guys to know where it's coming from. So we can't say that there are like conspiracies going on here. This is literally funded by the people. That's why it's possible. So Unified TV members do have early access to watch it just as a gift, because we wanted to say thank you. But on August 8th, 8/8 at 8:18 p.m. Eastern time, it's free for the entire world. And this is part 1, part 2, part 3. You just click it and you'll be able to watch it. So it's as simple as that. It's free for absolutely everybody. It will always be free for absolutely everybody. And the only thing that I can ask is, if you guys believe in this, if you support it, if you want to help continue expand this with the initiative that's greater than just the disclosure series. It's the disclosure series. It's unified healing. It's unified TV. It's our ability to pay people that come on, content creators that come on to create original series for unified TV. All of that support comes from unified TV members, and you can get a 7-day free trial over here when you click it. So for anybody that does want to support it, by all means, go for it. But just know that this is all free on August 8th for everybody to watch. And I just want to say that I appreciate everybody's support in advance, because that is the reason why we can do everything that we're doing here.
Wow. That is it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful experience. Having seen this, grow like you've grown this, being part of this, with you, it's been pretty phenomenal. A lot of, everyone's part of it, like you talk about,
Part of it.
and the more people that get involved, the better, because we can keep growing this and keep moving it forward. So,
well, I'll tell you, I want to tell you one thing about that, about how I see embodying a new system instead of the old. What do Netflix and Amazon do as they grow? They increase their prices because they know they can, because they know that they got you hooked. They know that you need them more than they need you. And then they give you price increases. And Netflix used to be like 11, 12 bucks. Today it's almost 20. Okay. Yep. So we've made a very public commitment here that we're following through it. As we continue to grow with more support, we do the exact opposite. It actually gets cheaper, because what happens when you have more people? You don't have to charge more. You can actually charge less, because the more people you have, the less you need from every person in order to support and expand. So it's the exact inverse of what all these, I would call dark and corrupt and evil corporations are doing. So that's what we've been doing. That's why if you pay attention, for anybody that signs up, not only it's a 7-day free trial, you get 40% off. And that discount we're able to offer because of all of our current members that are supporting it. So it shows how, like, we support each other. The more we support each other, it's going to keep going. 40 turns to 50. There's going to come a day where the overall membership is just going to be cheaper. And then there's going to be discounts on that, to a point where if I could turn this into $2 a month, if I could turn this into $1 a month, I will. We just need to do it where we can support what we're doing here, because it's a huge operation. It's a huge operation. A lot of people are working for it. We're hiring people every single day, and we just need the ability to keep operating and expanding. But it's really important for me to share the vision, because the vision over here is the inverse of how the world currently works. And that's why we give the 7-day free trials. That's why we give the discounts. That's why we do everything, because my vision is to make things as accessible, affordable as possible to everybody, while still having the means and resources to operate and expand. So that's why we choose to do things in this way.
Yeah, it's not easy building one of these. So you've done an amazing job with it. And
definitely
I appreciate it. And I know a lot of other people do too. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. And I always love that you come on and share it before it comes out. It's always fun. I have a great time doing these shows with you, and everyone, has a great time listening and finding out about this. And so you guys are totally psyched about seeing us. I know it. So get over there, and we'll put the links in there. If you didn't get it already, it'll be available to you. So lots of love to you guys. And thanks again,
Michael,
Jason.
I love you. You're amazing. I'm going to come out your way in Florida when I'm back. I'm in New York right now, but I will be back there. And we have, I think, like 10 centers opening up in Florida, one right by you in Sarasota.
Oh,
so
good.
I'll be helping them with grand openings, meet and greets.
I'll be there. I'll be there.
So yeah, definitely come join. We'll have a good time, and we'll make some.
Absolutely. Very fun.